mothers. So I had a client this past week, and you can relate to this because you have asthma. I had a client this week, and the mom, she died and left the inheritance. And,
Oh, God.
well, she only left it to part of her kids.
No, I know, that's why.
She didn't leave it to
That's
all
why
of her
I
kids.
said.
Oh my God.
Oh, God.
And she's really pissed. Not because of her, but because how could you discount
Yeah.
some of your children? And so she's having like a difficult time
Yeah.
with this situation, as to be expected. So, the son suffers from asthma. Asthma has to do with the mother.
Yeah.
So when you're born, what's the first thing that happens when you come out?
You breathe.
You take your first breath on your own. They whack you
On your butt.
and they assist you in taking your first breath on your own. People that have breathing issues, like this guy, like you, tend to have difficulties with their mothers. Because it's as if the mother doesn't give them permission to breathe on their own, okay?
Yeah.
And they're almost reliant on the mother for the breath. Now, they're not reliant on the mother, but you're reliant on your mother for your self-worth. If she says you can breathe, if she gives you permission to be born, if she gives you permission to have some self-worth, then you'll have your own breath. But if you're intertwined with your mom in a dysfunctional way, as many people are, most of us have obviously some trauma, since every person, place, thing, or situation is our mother or our father. You can see with breathing issues, things like that, that it's like, I'm not allowed to take this breath unassisted. And it's almost like mimicking the womb. Because in the womb, you're not breathing on your own. In the womb, your mother is breathing for you. So when you see people that have these sort of issues. Now, she texted me about burning her hand, and she's like, what does the hands mean? So there's different things.
Yeah.
Each finger has a symbology. The hand in itself, oftentimes it's something that you want to grab. She said she burned like 2 or 3 fingers. Oh, the
Well, I
thumb?
think it's the thumb because she sent a picture,
Okay.
but I'm not sure. But I think it was the thumb, her index finger, and I think maybe her middle finger. Or maybe her whole hand. All I saw was a band around, so she's like, F my life now, like I'm a righty and I can't do shit and I have a long week.
What do you mean she can't do anything?
Cause she's a righty, so it makes it
Oh,
that
that's
much
right,
more
she got it on her right side, so
difficult,
let's talk
yeah.
about that.
Wow, now that you say that, I must have came out from my mom's womb with drama already because I stopped breathing at 28 days and it was because my trach was too soft, supposedly. Maybe she tried choking me or something.
I
I'm
had
just
breathing
kidding.
problems when I was
But
born.
yeah,
Doubt it, but what do you mean you stopped breathing? What happened?
I was on a ventilator for a couple of days or whatnot, because supposedly my trach was too soft. It wasn't like fully developed or whatnot. So yeah, so I was on a ventilator. They took me home on a ventilator.
Wow.
So
So you stayed in the hospital all that time, or you went home and then went back at 28 days?
No. I stopped breathing at 28 days. So I was
Okay.
28 days old. I went to the hospital.
Okay.
And yeah, they took me home and brought me back when I stopped breathing. And then I was there for like a couple of days, a couple of weeks, and then they took me home with a ventilator.
Okay. I think it's interesting the 28 days. 28 symbolically represents the moon, because the moon shifts every 28 days.
Yeah.
Is the cycle of the moon, from new moon back to new moon. So it's interesting that it was 28 days from when you were born and that it was breathing issues.
Yeah.
It was sort of like a new cycle, just going with the
Yeah.
moon sign, or the
And
moon.
then I was
phase.
sleeping a couple of nights ago, maybe like a week or so, and oh my God, I swear to you, I felt like I was gonna have a heart attack. Like, I just started feeling these compressions on my chest, and I'm moving around the whole bed trying to figure out like the best position to like, I was like, laying on my back, and I was just like, please let it go away, because it was so painful. It was like right here, and in between my chest. I was like, oh my God, like.
But it was like a gas heartburn type of feeling? Or
No, it was
something?
like someone punching me like right here. It was just like, and a constant, like, I was like, oh my God, like,
Maybe it was
this
like
feels like I'm
polarized?
dying.
No.
Well, that's what I was asking her. She said no, that it
Yeah.
seemed, did you tell the doctor?
I haven't gone to the doctor even for the first time I fell on my head. The paramedics, by the way, they felt the bump. They're like, yeah, you still have a bump there.
Wow.
So I have to go, but yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so I'm like, crap. But at 28 years old, my son turned 1. So
Okay.
that's a fresh start for him.
And 28 is a number in terms of cycles, whether it's 28 days because of the moon or 28 years because of Saturn.
Mhm.
So in the astrology, when we talk about ending of cycles, 28 is very marked. And most people between 28 and 30, just to not say all, but between 28 and 30, Saturn comes up in everybody's life and gives you a responsibility. So in your case, it would be your son. It was my kids in marriage.
Yeah,
So, and we can see all of that in the
that's
chart.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's why I like the class, because
Yeah.
I'm learning so many
Yeah,
things.
so every planet, and today we're gonna talk about the years associated with each planet, how long it takes a planet to move
Yeah.
through the zodiac. But going back to the hand, so each finger means different things. The hand per se is something that you grab with. One of the things I will do with clients, if something comes up, is I will ask the client, what is the function of that body part?
Oh.
So if she comes, we can ask her without her knowing. What's the function? Because each individual person is going to say something differently. So I had a client several years ago whose mother died, and her hands had gotten numb and tingly. And I asked her, I said, what's the function of your hand? And she goes like this, and she's like, to cook for my family.
Oh.
And so for her, it was about cooking for her family, and her mother had just died, and her mother was the one who would cook for the family and was the matriarch and so forth. So she was associating that tingling with missing her mom. So if you ask the client, what does that body part represent to you? What does it mean to you? You'll get some insight as to perhaps why they're suffering. So we'll ask her if she comes. We'll ask her, don't tell her anything, to see what she says, and then we'll look at it. But each finger has an element associated with it. So when we're talking about the elements and we're talking about astrology, in the universe there's 5 elements. So this is our space finger, the thumb. This is our air finger. This is our fire finger. This is our water finger, and this is our earth finger. So think about it. We get married, we put the ring on the water finger.
Because it could slip? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, technically they'll say because it's connected to the heart. But if you think of water as emotion, it would make sense that the water finger, the emotional finger, is the marriage. What's this?
Fuck you.
Fuck you. This is the fire finger.
Yeah, it's on
This
fire.
gives you impulse.
It's air, no?
No,
This
space.
is space.
Space.
Ah, okay.
I
space.
figured because of this
Yeah, my
gap,
drawing
but-
isn't wonderful.
No,
but-
it's okay.
So the thumb is space. So many months ago, this was before you guys joined the class, we talked about something called mudras,
Yeah.
and it's in your packet. And in different traditions, when people meditate, they put their fingers together into different mudras. So one of the very common ones when you meditate is this one, the Vishnu mudra. So it's to control space and air. Why? Because in meditation, you're controlling your thoughts, and your thoughts are space and air. So we can put these together. So the union of different fingers and different motions, there's hundreds of different mudras, helps you manipulate energy, helps you manipulate the energies associated with the elements. So I can make you a copy of that packet. I don't have it, but when Ms. Rapace gets here, I'll ask her to bring it upstairs so you guys can look at it. And each chakra has a mudra, each chakra has a sound associated, each chakra has an element associated with it. So we start seeing these things, no matter if it's chakras, no matter if it's Hinduism, no matter if it's astrology, no matter if it's psychology, we start seeing the same sort of themes, and the elements are a big theme. So when we talk about how is someone's element, or what element is the person speaking from, or what element is a person suffering from, illness will oftentimes have to do with that. Burns is what element?
Fire.
Fire. So there's something associated with fire element. It could be anger, it could be fever, it could be uncontrolled rage. And we can see what was happening with her when this happened. There had to be a trigger for the burn. Then it was on her right side. The right side is the masculine. So it could be associated with a man, it could be associated with anger or rage, and it could be associated with wanting to grab something and not being able to. So it could be that she liked some guy, she was supposed to go out with him, the guy didn't ask her out, he slipped through her fingers, and she's pissed. Just a very simple breakdown of it. And as a result, this client now has these burns on her hand, on her right hand. So you see, we could start breaking things down from symbol, whether it's element, body parts, things like that. Now, you're studying astrology. What sign rules the hands? Do you remember?
They're up there, right? Those are the
Well, those are the
No,
planets.
yeah.
Those aren't the
Oh,
signs.
Oh, those are.
So Aries, Taurus, Gemini,
Right, exactly.
Cancer. So the way that the body is split up from head to toe is the zodiac. Aries is the head, Taurus is the throat and the skin, Gemini is the extremities, the lungs and the extremities, including the hands. So in an astrology chart, if you want to maybe find out what's going on, you can go look at Gemini in the person's chart to see why perhaps they had this burn issue. So there's ways to break this down.
No,
So-
because she likes to cook, so in my head I'm just like, I could imagine her with a damn pot in her hand. I'm just like, fucking asshole. Like, I can imagine it. Oh my god.
Now usually, and this is what I try to do with clients, is when something happens to a client, physically or otherwise, usually physically, just to kind of stay with that theme, what they're doing is they're reacting to something that happened already. They're reacting to something in the past, an unprocessed emotion, an unprocessed trauma. So something could have activated that burn. Something could have activated that anger. So your client isn't necessarily, and this is my belief, some therapists will look at the burn and just talk about the burn. I don't work that way. I'm always like, let's go to the back and see what you're processing, okay? So going back to this client who didn't, the husband didn't get the inheritance, left, and she only left it to some of the kids. This lady is angry, and she tells me, I'm really, really upset because my mother-in-law didn't leave my spouse his share. She only left it to some of the kids. What's going on there? Is it really about the inheritance? Is it really about what's happening right now?
No.
Some therapists will say yes. I don't work that way, so I'm teaching you to think beyond. what could it be? What could be activating this anger? What could be activating this frustration that she's feeling? And just to preface, they don't need the money.
No, they're-
So maybe if the person needed the money, you could understand, okay, but these people don't necessarily need the money. So it's not really, it is about the money, but it's not about the money, and I'll tell you the symbolism of money in a minute. But what could it be? What would you do to find out with the client
Is
what
she
it really is about?
as upset as he is that his mom didn't leave the money?
She's more upset.
Oh.
Wait, who's more upset? The wife?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's a good question.
Maybe
Yeah.
see the relationship between
Okay.
not only the couple, but between the triangle, the mother-in-law, the daughter-in-law, and then the husband.
Okay, what about the relationship? What kind of questions would you ask?
I mean, the thing is, I'm sorry, but from the very beginning of a relationship, when not only you meet that person, you get a vibe. I'm sorry, you get a vibe off of a person once you meet, and you know that they're in that path, but you're hard-headed and you still want to
Okay.
stay with them.
Okay,
So-
but that's a good point.
Yeah.
And I have a theory called the origin theory. As
Oh, yeah.
things are birthed, as things are conceived, that energy will remain until the end of it,
Yeah.
okay? So you're absolutely right. The way things start dictate a lot of things. And then we ourselves sort of brainwash ourselves that the person isn't the way they are, or we say, oh, that's how they are.
Yeah.
So this woman isn't shocked. She knows that this woman is the way she is, and this is not atypical behavior.
But that
But why
you-
is she angry?
But the thing is, between a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law, or a son-in-law and a mother-in-law, there's always drama. I'm sorry. La mamá no le cae bien.
Okay, but
This-
they're married a many
no,
years.
yeah.
But did she, like, cuando ella hizo eso, was it before her? Like, before they got married, or was it when he was a kid, or was it before she died?
Yeah, before she died.
Maybe she did it on purpose.
Right, that's the anger, is that she did it on purpose.
Like,
So
he
he
has
felt
her, he doesn't
betrayed.
She
need my
basically
money.
said, some of the kids are getting money and some aren't.
Wow.
Well, maybe.
I mean, if you're an only child, you're an only child?
No.
Okay, so imagine if your mother left you something but not your sister, or vice versa. There's a blatant behavior there. This woman is angry, but what is it activating? Is it really about this
No,
inheritance?
it's about like betrayal mostly, right? Like,
Okay, so there could be
you
themes of
feel
betrayal.
betrayed.
And you
Should
can
at
ask the
least-
client,
At least he didn't find out. My mom already told me I ain't getting shit.
She told you?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, bitch, it's all good. I'm going to school, so I
okay,
don't give a shit.
but
But
there could be a theme of betrayal,
like preference also.
preference about.
between the brothers and the sisters.
Oh, can you imagine? That's
Yeah.
sibling rivalry.
Right.
That's
Like
something
I
that is
love these
probably
people
more.
Yeah.
Maybe the relationship wasn't that good, like between mother and son.
Okay,
Yeah.
possible.
What else? Let's see.
So let's just go with betrayal for a moment. Because this is raising in the client, not the husband, but in my client, the issue. She's the one that's angry and frustrated. It's not her mother that treated her bad. It's not her mother that didn't leave her anything. It's her mother-in-law. But it's never about the situation at hand. There must be a story where that client
That's what I'm saying.
is reliving
A situation.
that this has sort of reawakened. And I want you to get in that habit of thinking. When a client comes, what is it reawakening in them from a previous time? So we're just going to use Paula's comment about betrayal. So let's say your hunch, intuitively, you're like, this is betrayal. What would you ask the client about previous times of betrayal?
Obviously what has happened in your previous life that you can recall a moment of betrayal.
Okay,
What is the definition of betrayal?
okay, very good questions.
Give an example of betrayal.
Okay,
Behind the meaning.
Or like what triggers
What?
for her to feel this way?
Yeah.
okay, so right, what are these triggers and what happened in the past? Perhaps I would ask about childhood, since I always go to childhood. Between 0 and 7, do you recall an instance of betrayal? And that first thing that the client says is where you start. There's obviously a memory there. Any of you have betrayal issues?
Come on, guys.
No.
I can't be the only one.
Okay, so Paula, you have betrayal issues.
Mhm.
Anything happened recently where you felt betrayed?
Let's see. I mean, after the seizure, like yesterday, she was like, cause we got into it, and she was like, "Oh, no one told you to come back. We don't need you here."
No one told you to come back from the seizure?
No one told you to move back in here, and like, no one needs you here. So what are you still doing here? And I'm like, you're the one who asked me to move back in because you wanted to be a family again. So what the fuck? And I'm gonna stay until I fucking need to stay. So you're just gonna have to suck it up. I don't care if you need me or not.
Okay, but what issue of betrayal is coming up? Because you're getting very emotional. So what betrayal issue is happening there?
Because you know my situation, like the fact that she threw me in jail. Like all of those feelings, on top of the fact that even previously I hadn't had a relationship with her, or the best one, and then she throws me in jail, and then now what she says, like,
She feels betrayed by her own mom.
Okay, so betrayal linked to when she threw you in jail.
yeah,
That's the memory that you keep going back to.
yeah,
Okay,
the most that affected me.
okay.
out of all of it.
Okay, so you can take a client back to what is reawakened in them. So something not so insignificant, but something insignificant can trigger her into going back to that instance when she was put in jail by her own mother. So that's where we want to take the client. That's where we want to find out what is the root cause of what they're feeling. So I asked this woman, and we were talking, and it turns out that when she was like 20-something years old, her brother died. And the same mother-in-law said to her, "I will give you money to go buy a flight, but you have to pay me back." She didn't have anything, and the mother-in-law did.
The one
So
that
what's,
died.
what?
The one that died?
Right.
Okay.
So what is it awakening it in the client? Is it really about the instance right now?
How she had the I don't know how to say the word, but how she gave her the money to help her out to go to see the brother.
Well, she really didn't. She said, "You better pay me back." And she forced her to pay her back instead of having some empathy about the fact that her brother died.
Yeah, but I mean, if someone says that, like, you already know there's gonna be futuristic trauma.
Okay, but I hear what you're saying, but it sounds logical, but we're not logical. Your clients aren't logical. You guys aren't logical. Why are you crying every time you talk about your mother when you know your mother's a bitch? It doesn't matter how bitchy you know your mother is. The reality is that you have a pain. You have a trauma. There's an emotion there that's stuck. So we can't just say, "Oh, well, you know this person is like this." We're going to harm our client if we do that. Yeah, so I know that this person is an asshole, but it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt me.
Oh no, I wasn't gonna tell that to the client. I was just thinking it like,
Right,
I'm
but
gonna
if
write
you're
that straight
limiting,
down.
if you
But,
limit your thinking
yeah.
into saying this person, my client, should expect problems or knows that this person is like that, why are you so shocked? We're trying to get our clients to heal and nurture them around situations that to you might be completely insignificant. A lot of your clients might come with stupid shit. Remember, we're not judging, we're validating their feelings, we're creating empathy. So this woman, her brother died years before, and the woman said, you better pay me back. Now, she's basically saying, you don't deserve anything. Do you find a relationship between those two stories?
Right.
What's the common thread?
Help.
Why help?
Because, well, I'm going back to the original story between them two.
Right, but what's the help? Here's money, go see your brother who died, or go see your family who died, but you better pay me back. And now I die and I leave you no money. Where's the help thread? What thread are you seeing in this story?
I'm still trying to like play both things and try to like come up with a conclusion.
Okay, but we're not coming up with a conclusion. We're simply taking in the information the client's giving us.
Right.
If we get sidetracked, we're gonna go off on a complete
No, I'm trying to
tangent.
put like help. I mean,
I
her
feel
the assistance. Oh,
like when I'm sorry.
no, go
I
ahead.
feel like when she offered to help her, she didn't really do it out of the good, like to help her, other than like to maybe have some sort of control or say, oh, I did this for you, but you really didn't do it. And then now, like she didn't leave money for her son because she knew that it wasn't going to be for himself, it was going to be for both of them.
Okay, so you're picking up on issues of control, is what I hear you saying. I don't see help. When I say here, take this, but you better pay me back, the woman's not having much empathy when her daughter-in-law just lost her brother. She's basically, this is a business arrangement, I could have gone to the bank and got the loan, kind of thing. So I'm not personally seeing help in that. But it is, the thread is money. The thread is money as a control factor.
Maybe she didn't pay her back and she was like, fuck him, I'm not leaving them with no money. They never paid me.
No, they gave her the money.
No, I know, but I'm
They
just
gave her the
saying.
money. I mean, when you're with a client, you have to think on your feet and you have to pull and remember stories, that's why you write notes, about what they've told you in the past. So she says to me, this lady didn't leave any money. And I say to her, doesn't this remind you of when she sort of, hurt you when she lent you money and sort of said, you better pay me back when your brother had died? It's bringing up pain, it's bringing up a wound. We're helping clients connect dots to why they feel the way they feel. So we have to listen and we have to remember what clients said to us. So later on, she's telling me another story. And the sister, the mother left money to the sister. And she's like, I don't think the sister recognizes, what her mother did. She was like appeasing the sister. She was like letting the sister off the hook. And she makes a comment and she says to me, the sister-in-law, she's not aware of what's going on and how wrong this is that her mother didn't leave everybody money. She only selected a few of the kids. I think that she's doing it out of guilt. She wants to, listen to what she says to me, she's like, I think she wants to honor her mother's last wishes, exactly as the mother wrote them in the will. And I say to my client, I said, do you, because she didn't listen to her mother when she was alive, something like that. And I said to the client, do you remember when we first started seeing each other, how you felt guilty because you didn't listen to your mom's last wishes? Because her mother didn't want to go into a nursing home and she put her into a nursing home.
Oh.
So here I am making a connection, connecting the dots. The client says to me, I don't think that has anything to do with it. I said, okay, but